Today, Rinpoche continued his explanation of the section Training the Mind in the Stage of the Past Shared in Common with Beings of Medium Capacity. He did an overview of the first three categories, the mental training, the measure of the determination to be free, and dispelling misconceptions, and began the fourth category, ascertaining the nature of the path leading to liberation.
Tanga so the Chibinding to him, but Chibinding to Samba Jam, Samba Chivise, tell her to Sabat Jubilant, tell her Papa. Samba Jam was at Najum Samba Jam Marba, Najum Samba Jam, Sabat Chivise, and the Saji Shedis Mojanji. Najum Samba, Nabatabache Gures, Tambache. And then I do some Nabatavache, but the Kuntang Gures, Nebaje, and then I do some of the Abbot and Shaku Selazo to the Abbot Mares, Sombaje, and then I do somebody Chibichung Lat and Digal, Chibichibi Lat, Sajiki, Jitendam, Jitimba.
Jipa the Tambo Nipa Dang Jipa Yanju.
Jipa, and I do somebody. Chibichung Samba Latin, Chibichung Lion with a Digal Lion with a Chibichibi Lion with his what the song Marba.
And Tambo Nang Nipa, the Dondagare.
Tambo Dangaju Samba, I know Samba Nabatabu with his
Dondagare,
and then I know Samba Yabichi Wurta, I know Samba Yabot killing the Buddhist. Then what they could compete on was Yari down was Nipa. Somba Marba Somba.
The Nipa Gare.
Nipa, then there was the Samba, the cousin would a one and one peg was Nipa J.
Gone, the
Yajet on Yaji. I do some Yari and Ruta Nipa J, and the Somba the Marba. And I do somebody up and the Shaju Saras.
Okay, so do.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, we're looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, and specifically the section on training the mind in the stages of the path shared in common with beings of medium capacity. When we look at the outline in the Lamrim Chenmo, we find that there are four categories in that section. The first category is the mental training. The second category is the measure of the determination to be free. The third category is dispelling misconceptions. And then the fourth category, ascertaining the nature of the path leading to liberation. So these are the four categories that we find. So that first category, the mental training, is referring specifically to renunciation. That's what the mental training in this section is. It's the desire to definitely emerge, or the determination to be free. So this is the first category's kind of meaning, is that the mental training is renunciation. The second category, which is the measure of the determination to be free, we find that there are four categories when we look at Jayan Sheva's outline. Jayan Sheva states that there are four sections. The first section is the need for a clear understanding of renunciation, or the pure renunciation. So this is the first category. The second category is that through familiarization, this renunciation increases. So there's through familiarization, one's determination to be free becomes stronger. The third category is that if there is not a basis of renunciation or desire to definitely emerge, this determination to be free, then it's not possible to generate bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And then the fourth category is that renunciation is really required in all of the capacities. So when we look at the training the mind in the stage of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity and medium capacity, and then of great capacity, we'll find that renunciation becomes indispensable in some form or another in all of those capacities. So this is that fourth category in Jayan Sheva's outline. So that's the 4 categories of the section number 2, which is the measure of the determination to be free, according to Jayan Sheba. Okay, Rinpoche. Dikson.
What does one Lutu say? Lutu say the la, and Judge Sajin Jigatu, Lubertu Sudan, the Sewani Marbe. Lobatu Sud what the Lobatu the Sewa. And the Sewa de la Sajiji Marbe. Tal on Tonga to Larichimo, the Larichim Calendar and Mare.
All right, so now we're going into the section which deals with dispelling misconceptions. So dispelling misconceptions begins on page 328. In this section, Jayan Sheba says that there are 2 categories. The first category, dosu. Dosu, don't say that. Dosu. Deals with a qualm and a clarification of a qualm. And then the second category, selwa, is kind of a clarification, kind of like a negation. Actually, it's like more of a negation of what is incorrect. So the negation of what is incorrect. So the first category is addressing a qualm and clarification of a qualm, and then the second category is the negation of what the qualm is presenting. And then there's 8 categories according to Jayan Sheba in that negation section, which is number 2. Okay,
Oh, Jetakuzul Angatensaro.
Lobsang.
Oh, the Lasana Sangazu Mazu Larichimo, the Peitul Majin Rodan, Injitul Deshijana. Tell a Lobatua and Lobatuba. Lobatu Sewa, Kidis, Tal Lobatu Chute, what Lobatu between the Neredwa, Lobatu between the Kede, Ku Yishintu Joyu, Jua Gunas, Kualang Abanju, and Jung Sambat Gumbaina, and Shaju Sambat Netuna Channel Matabes, Netutar Kuashubala Magaishir. Netutar Kuajuban Magaishir, she Talmoyu, Ne Jua Gumba ne, Timelan Zes, she Talmoyu, and what the Naju Samba Gumba de, she Talmoyu, Timebatul Yapuran Zebures, Shaju Samba ne, Tagumba Marite, Shaju Samba Suka, the Naju Samba Gunda Digamundos. Garers and do Lonian Dua, or then you look true. That on but the song much of do less, songs of Jim High in Jabata, songs of Jim Dule, Shaju Sabanan, Sejan Yonsu, Peba Ni, Nyawazone, Koala Pen to Tawa, Tatana Yonsu, Deba Chembo. Deba Chembo la Malazos, Shedans, Kete, Shaju Samba Ku, Shu la Tanane, Kete Shaju Samba Ku, Kual Traba Inane, Tanane, Shu Malazo, Shu Malaba, Tongo Shedans, Shaju Samba Kual Tragum to Kete Traba Ina, and Tanane, do you Shu. Laba Shus Malaban Jung was the don't get to those Shedan. Junden de Netuna Kushu la Traba Lages what the Dul what they wrote. Netuna Kushu la Traba Julages Netu Galo Kual Tragres Shanju Samba Hakoa Padomaba, Yonsun Zimba, 제바 시바 줄라소스 근데 장주 선바 소데 코아바도 뭐 코아만 손지 봐도 는 그 좋아래네 는 시제 되시그레스 말라소시 손비셔 셔시나스 what 카지도 what 네투도 코알nga 반중 난중 선바 요아레 장주 선바라 는 what 난중 선바 매바 된 도와스 나 카지고 what 누이도 신지로 zen데 안에 바도메바 용준제바 줄라소 셰송비 셔르셰나스 네 로바도 추워드바드레 로바도 추워드바드레.
Okay, so we'll begin reading. So the first category is really the misconception itself. And then the second category is the actual dispelling. So if you look at the words, it's the misconception and then the dispelling of it, according to Jayan Sheba. So the misconception itself, we find all the way down to the third quote from the sutra. So it says, Quam, so the idea here is that the hearers and solitary realizers generate renunciation, but the bodhisattvas do not, because they do not generate disenchantment with cyclic existence. They want to be born there. Therefore, they don't generate renunciation. They don't generate a desire to definitely emerge because of the way that they feel about cyclic existence and their desire to go there. So this is the actual misconception, and then it's supported by sutras that have been misunderstood. So the misconception is supported by a misunderstanding. So although it is inappropriate in the Hinayana to cultivate I did this last time. Although it is appropriate in the Hinayana to cultivate disenchantment with cyclic existence, it is inappropriate for bodhisattvas. For if bodhisattvas were to cultivate intense disgust and disenchantment with cyclic existence, they would be like the Shravakas and fall into an extreme of peace, having become displeased with their involvement in cyclic existence. And as the Sutra of showing the Tathagata's inconceivable secret states, bodhisattvas thinking of the maturation of living beings view cyclic existence as beneficial. Accordingly, they do not view great nirvana, liberation, as beneficial to the maturation of beings. Were bodhisattvas to fear involvement in cyclic existence, they would fall to a destitute place. Bhagavan, whereas the Shravakas fear involvement in cyclic existence, bodhisattvas voluntarily take innumerable rebirths in cyclic existence. So here, this section deals with the misconception. Dixon. So then now we move on to the second category, which is the dispelling or the negation of the misconception. And then we begin with the first category among the 8 categories Jayan Sheba presents in that second part. Dixon. So now we have this response section which deals with the dispelling part, and the idea that bodhisattvas do not generate a desire to definitely emerge, whereas the hearers and solitary realizers do, because they have disenchantment with cyclic existence, whereas bodhisattvas do not. So now this will be dispelled, and where they have supported this idea with quotes from sutras, Lama Tsongkhapa will show how this is a misunderstanding of the sutra which they've quoted. So
Zhōngyū nōngā chēnbō tēs, kāchī chīgē wotē nūyī lōngyī dānē, lōng tēnyī gē nye tūlā ngā chōng sāmbā gōgē rē, shāngchū sāmbā lā ngā chōng sāmbā gōgē mē bā tē nūyī tēng, nū tē kī tēng dō sī lā bā yī na, kāchī tō wotē nūyī tēng dā lē nutritious, then it do Shejiludo, Noa Chambers, nutrition chambers, Juse Goddess and the Da, Kuala Jua Maja, she is no between Kuali, Shanju Samba Kuala Jua Maja, she is no between there, and the Shanju Sambala, Nanjun Saba Mess, Jeju Mares, what did the Goddess na led on Yama Siba Chambi, Chi, Dung, Gai Dung, Nai Dung, Suji, Dungela, Inju Maja, Temba Mages, Cheganachi, Dungela Suba, Tuttle, Nanjun Saba Mess, Sungu, Temba Mages, Shanju Sembe, Druidando, Koa Taibado, Shanju Sembe, Sentient Dando, Koa Matumbato, Koa Taibado, Koa Matumbato, Shanju Shebala, Loba, Kosha Guba Nas, and Shanju Sembe Koa Matumbato, and the Sentient Tangido, the Jimba Tsujin Zuba Tundu, Shelo to the Kosha Gugres, Jansu Langres, Kosha Guba Na, Druid Dogan Tangi Domba, Keji Rilla, Le Dansen la Pojans, Sejen to Dogan Maluba Yons Zubate, and the Shanchu Sabate, Le Dansen Leba Ina, Poba Ina Ya, Tedaki, Shanchu Sabali Joy, Mares, He Majushin, Tewa Meba, Shoba Labuchena, Tri Zundu Zombala, Koala Majua, Sombishes, and the Shanju Samba, what the Sijang Dunshaba, the senior Tajiki, doing it, and the Shanju Samba Zola, Ludangal, Boba Inaya, and the Shanju Samba, Sanju Chagmares, Sijang Tajiki Dondo, Tadun Sijang Tajiki Dondo, Sijang Dunshaba, Tri Zundu Zambala Majua, Maju Dunres, Maju Dunamato, Koala Maju Dumares, Koala Nanusamba, you are a Netulejan, Laba you are as, Sheson Bisharos, Tata are Tenmata, and Paden the Art belong to Zuro. Tata, I know what the Paden the Art, or Tibetan Buddhism.
Okay, so the response, number 1 in Jayan Sheba's 8. This is a great error that misconstrues the sutra's meaning. For the sutra passage that says, thus bodhisattvas should not become disenchanted with cyclic existence, does not teach bodhisattvas not to be disgusted with the sufferings of birth, aging, illness, death, and so on, the result of our wandering through cyclic existence under the influence of our karma and afflictions. So here, it's not stating that the bodhisattva doesn't want to definitely emerge from birth, aging, the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, the suffering of sickness, the suffering of death, or the karma and afflictions that bind him, her, and all sentient beings to cyclic existence. It means that they are willing to persevere for others' sake. It says, the result of our wandering through cyclic existence under the influence of our karma and afflictions. Rather, this sutra teaches joyous perseverance. In order to train in the bodhisattva's activities for the sake of others until the end of cyclic existence, bodhisattvas must put on armor, courage. So the bodhisattva's activities for the sake of others are referring to engaging in the 6 perfections. So engaging in the perfection of generosity, the perfection of ethics, the perfection of patience, the perfection of effort, the perfection of concentration, the perfection of wisdom. So these are what the bodhisattva's activities are. And it says bodhisattvas must put on armor, courage. Once they do this, if all the sufferings of all living beings were collected, and the bodhisattvas constantly experienced them mentally and physically, they would still persevere joyously, delighting in the magnificent deeds that help others without becoming disenchanted with or frightened by suffering. Thus, the Buddha said the bodhisattvas must not be disenchanted with cyclic existence. So here it's Lama Tsongkhapa showing what was really meant by that passage, and why bodhisattvas should not be disenchanted, because they need to joyously persevere when they're helping sentient beings, even if all of the sufferings of every sentient being were to be experienced by them all at once, they would gladly persevere, gladly engage in those 6 perfections for the sake of others because of their mental state. But that being said, even though they joyously persevere under these circumstances, it doesn't mean that they don't want to emerge from those negativities, those faults, that manifest in the form of cyclic existence. Khensur Rinpoche. So now we have a quote from Master Chandrakirti. sentient dunshibal draw yours, gabu yours, gabu yours, sentient dunshibal jundu keji ne, draw tada ki, naba tanji chamba nije, and naba tanji chamba nije, nurji tu taiba, ji, juriba shines, what did that Karsugre? What did Abotelle, what did Tetabi Tubayung Juares, and Tubachi Agjo, Ziba Shene, Hayan Shanju Samba, Jata Lantes, Hayan Shanju Samba Zu, Ku, Jawa Jata Lante, Singing Tunshigres, and Jata Lante, Lama Rite, the Shizit was the Tamanduny Zambares. Doing the Jambare, doing that the Kualan to the Kajin Lansudan, and the Kajin Lansud Nanjures, Neron Lugo de Lansud New Drota. The Shizit do the Nam Trambisharos, what about what the Jill not Tambatins. That's it. And then, still within number 1, then we have the quote from Master Chandrakirti. Says, Bodhisattvas who take on the suffering of all beings moment by moment until the end of cyclic existence do not fear harm to their bodies or minds. Bodhisattvas who take on the sufferings of all beings simultaneously until the end of cyclic existence delight in this activity. Each instant of such joyous perseverance acts as the cause whose effect produces boundless collections of wealth, bringing omniscience to all beings. Once bodhisattvas understand this, it is appropriate for them to take hundreds of rebirths. In order to emphasize this point, Chandrakirti then cites the aforementioned sutra, passages from the Sutra of Showing the Tathagata's inconceivable secret. So here, this is number 1.
This one.
That's it.
Niba the Jajibo Guati Niba Sibar Pendo Tawa Sombi Siba Pendo Tawas, Tashan to Sambasuke, Siba the Pendo Tai, Pen Tawa Sombati to that Songu Ares, Siba La, Siba Korva, Koala Pendo Tai, Jusen to Yans, Koala Pendo Tai, Jusen to Yan, do the Niles, Tamak do the Lejirwa. And the Nile Shansen Sejenji Tunla Sejenji Tunla Jumba in Las Shanju Sambasu Sejenji Tunshibala Junju Sangri Gabu Yoris Jumba in La Tejita Jumba Theatre Ne Tula Dewanju Asun Base Shanju Sembe and Sejenji Tundu and what Tunshibatan Shanju Samba Shanju Samba Tulu Gabu, Gawanjo Asun base, Dotege. Shinjing sentient tanda shebala ana shanchu sambala gabu yongre sombares dewa jo sombe sebala maju de ko sentient ji den shebala maju jins ko la maju se ato de ana ko la maju se ato nganu samba me shi de mares ana shanchu samba ko le jewale ne ana ko le jewale ne sentient den shebala chugo mare sentient den shebala gabu yongre shebe de res maju de ko sentient den shebala maju jin den shebala maju de den shebala gabu yores tadala gawa son bisharos o tebot nibare.
Number 2, the same sutra states that cyclic existence should be viewed as beneficial. Because bodhisattvas gain happiness proportionate to the effort they make when they strive for the welfare of living beings. Hence, the Buddha says that not being disenchanted with cyclic existence means not being disenchanted with accomplishing the good of living beings in cyclic existence, as well as enjoying this activity. Rinpoche stated before, and I just want to make sure I don't forget, that a bodhisattva is willing to undergo this until cyclic existence is empty. Until there is no longer a cyclic existence. And he or she does not become disenchanted with it, rather enjoys being able to accomplish the virtues that he or she can within cyclic existence. So joyously does so, joyously perseveres because of understanding that it's necessary to work for the welfare of these beings that he or she is with or around. That's number 2. Let me just make sure I got everything. Discourage. Okay.
Ta sumba tro de nyajebe o de kuat shendo nyajebe ane shaju samba de hiji jawala gabu ares shaju samba de hiji jawala gabu are lenyu je kuat jawala tragres ane shaju samba ane hiji jawala ga lenyu jawala trabi chu o chu de le matengo ares Shanju Sambas, he Chemichal Gabuare, Leon Jomoki, Kuala Jawal Trabi Chute, Sumba Tenematango Duosa. Tena Leda Yomoki, Koa Chana, Dungan to Menanesa, Dungan to Menane, Rangi to Menuna, Genji to Tachimus, Tenem Guba Kunji, Guyimbe. Temele che shinto joa shela ga gujins temele che shinto joa la ga gujins so de tatnma tege shanju samaso hiji shimbe joa la ga bu are le jong kwa je ba tra bi chu de dang do sa de na le da nyomo mo ge kwa chana le da nyomo kwa je ba ina ane de nge do mena ne ane rangi duen rutu mare jen do gane yungres yungmares tajemes tene guba kunju buyimbes te kasugure le do nyomo mo ge jewa de guba kunju gores guba kunju chega na ji dongala su taje ge jures ko le jewa tene guba kunje chega na ji dongala su kunju buyimbe temen le je shin do joas Shanju Sambaso, Nanjung Sambate, Temen Lejang, Jachua Tatin Sabayoris, Tenu Guba Kunju Goyembe, Temen Le, Che Shinto Joa, Shela, Gagushinsa, Gagush, what about Sumbare?
Number 3.
Sumba, what did Danda Undi, but Hananda. Hijila subu ongi siba jiwan zimba lane gawa sha gube Teni meji gosa. What the Sumba the Tendusa. And then Shaju Saman Chibijuala Gabu, later Nomo Juala, Tragu waters, Trabu Chute, whatever Tendusa.
The ni kakare, gawa. Cheap.
That quality Chibijuala, call Travani to Kakaro.
Kakare. Okay.
Magic gosa.
Okay. So number 3, when you wander through cyclic existence by the power of karma and afflictions, you are tormented by many sufferings, birth, aging, sickness, death, etc. If you are unable to accomplish even your own aims, what need is there to mention that you cannot accomplish those of others? Since such wandering is the door to all problems, bodhisattvas must be even more disenchanted with cyclic existence than Hinayana practitioners, and must stop their own wandering caused by karma and the afflictions. Nevertheless, bodhisattvas must enjoy being reborn in cyclic existence through their aspirational prayers and compassion. These two ways of being reborn are not the same. So here it's saying that being reborn under the power of one's karma and afflictions is not the same as being reborn under the power of the aspirational prayers and compassion. So it's showing the difference between the bodhisattvas taking on a rebirth and then an ordinary beings taking on a rebirth. And the bodhisattva, it's showing how since the bodhisattva recognizes that all sentient beings are wandering in cyclic existence because of their karma and afflictions, it actually, and then they wish to accomplish those beings' aims, it makes their own renunciation and their disenchantment with cyclic existence actually stronger than that of the Hinayanists because of their scope related to cyclic existence. So that is what number 3 is referring to.
Ta jeba tereja le do nyomo mo ke jawa dan le ni do melo ke jawa ni de jibares la ba ina
Okay.
jibares la ba ina an sha ju sen bi dong ba yo ba ina o de ne sha ju sen bi dong ba dang ge dong wa yong ge ne ba yong res
Less so.
ne ba yong res an o de ta ma she ba ta ma le do nyomo mo ke jawa dan le nyu jong ke jawa ni 카가이마 마시바 테테 마시바를 페나나사 레던 요모고 좋아던 레니요고 좋아한 지바인스 라바이나 하바텔라스 라겐텔라 샤주스베 동바여바이나 아네 동바여나 내지 요모진시 저와 상사를 송도서다 어디 내지 테다 게 네바지 종와데 내셔 Suben Papa to me, Chancel son dos, Chancel son de Timos Tobe Madisos, and the Kanga dos Lavaina, and the Mabachano, say Kanga T. Manson.
That's it. Okay. Failing to number 4, failing to make this distinction leads to the qualms like that above. Failing to make the distinction between a rebirth from karma and afflictions and then a rebirth that a bodhisattva has projected because of compassion and aspirational prayers. So failing to make a distinction between these two, it says the bodhisattva levels, which is a Sangha's text, says that if the proponents of such a position have taken the vows of a bodhisattva, then they have committed a misdeed permeated with afflictions. However, fearing too many words, I will not quote the passage in full. So, if someone holds this position that these two are the same, then it actually breaks a bodhisattva vow. It becomes a downfall of the bodhisattva vow by not seeing this difference between rebirth under the power of aspirational prayers and compassion and being reborn just because of karma and the afflictions. Okay, Diksung Rinpoche.
Désolé. Ouais, na shang chu sen bi wo de da de je men chen ne me de sha jang men de je bo dans na su su shang chu sen bi dong ba yo ge su su de ra ji na shang chu sen bi za dong ma de yen mera dana zatung da de jeme chune mate shin da lenyu jong ge jewa da tije de mono ge jewa ni jiba yin se loba yana tungwa yong go maro da
Lesa, then the longare.
tudu la me ne jong goro da de jeme chune mate sha jeme tije bon da tudu la me ne ju no le sha ju se me dong ba yoro
Ah, the Juche down.
what yoro
Okay. So the Bodhisattva vows we can find in the 6th session Guru Yoga, and it begins with not criticizing others and so forth. So we can find those in the 6th session Guru Yoga. Rinpoche quoted it a bit, and I can actually find that very easily at break. It's right there. So we can get back to that. But he just quoted a couple of the lines of the Bodhisattva vow. So it begins with not criticizing others. So if you fail to make this distinction between this rebirth forced by karma and afflictions and one of aspirational prayers and compassion, then you break the Bodhisattva vow. Digson. Karma sum the nipa. Karma sum. Karma sum. Tada?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Jiba Timbata, later Yomo Jiwa, Lenyo Jiwa Jiba in Salabaina, and what the Shaju Sembe Dumba Yobaina, and then Nieba Jungo is Chancel Zondosa. Chancel Zondos.
So number 4, we find this assertion that comes from Asanga's Bodhisattva levels. It says that if you hold this position, then you break the actual Bodhisattva vow.
This one.
Now we move on to 5.
Teacher Sibi Jun Tataba Tones Tataba Tone Yishinto Junyas Sibi Jun Tataba Tone Yishinto Junya Hiji Chambi Yitambe Siba Mabone Mosai Nejes and the Shachu Sambasula Teacher Sibi Jun Tataba Sibi Jun Tataba Tone and Nanju Samba Yoris, Shanju Sambazul. Yi Jonyas, Nanju Samba, and Yoba Inayas, Hiji Chambi, and the Sijel, Hiji Chambi Kunalande, Kwa Matonjubato, Kwa Nen, Sijel Twashigres, and then Hiji Chambi Yitambe, Siba Maboa, and Siba Hiji Chambi Yitane, Kunen Nene. Sijin Dunshibate, Musai Ne de Yabures, Musai Ne Jes, and Sibi Pensula Jeme Cantar Tonyu, and Sibi Pensula Jeme Cana Jeton, Siba la Jose Jakamandewa, Jedun la Metane, Kuja Kua Mabun, Shejan, Labayena. And Kebas Gabion Maris, Kebanjoa, Kalanjoros, what Tebatro, what they thought, then Oman Hebi Lodge down the door, Oman Hebo, Luben Ledengero, Luben Ledenje, Omara Jubishenda Sujere, Duduship, Omara Jubishenda Sunikare, Con Kebachevre, Con some Pushamoyo, Luben Ledenge. Tubawa, Oman Yebuta, Con Yosabe, Potomodo, de Moyosare, Oman Yebuta, Tubawa to Yure. Tandene, Oman Yebulon Dangdua, Oman Yumbilon, 전통신의 시바 메스 샤주 선바주 ane kual 전통 그래서 샤주 선바주 kual 전통 예자 시바 메 시바 가부요 말레스 kual 가부요 말레 전통 전통신의 시바 가부요 말레 kual 가부요 말레스 전통신의 시바 메스 오나 kual 마동지 받는 내바도 가르치나 뜻이 양은 데면에스 저아니 제베 와게는 고알는 거라스 고알는 양을 면대버지 네 전도 주셔 두주진스 아니 지 서와든 지 제베 군노만 고아마도 좀 네네 현세적인 돈 주셔 돈 주비 두주진스 시바나 네바지 대소자 아니 전다 제부 여성 안에 샤주 선바도 코알 내고 그래서 shesunsosa, jesunsos.
Okay. So number 5, hence it's amazing that bodhisattvas see the defects of cyclic existence and are thoroughly disgusted, yet do not give up their vow because they are motivated by great compassion. If those who see the wonders of cyclic existence as like a celestial mansion, without reducing their craving and even in the slightest claim to be serving others, how could their unwillingness to abandon cyclic existence please the wise? And then we have a quote from Baba Vaga's Heart of the Middle Way. Baba Vega is considered the opener of the Chariot Way of the Middle Way Autonomy School, and specifically opener of the Chariot Way of the Middle Way Autonomy School, tending to the Sutra tradition. So as a translator's note, there's 2 Middle Way Autonomy School. One tends towards the mind only, one tends towards the Sutra. Baba Vega holds the view that tends towards the Sutra tradition. So it's stated that he is both the opener of the Chariot Way of the Middle Way Autonomy and opener of the Chariot Way of the Middle Way Autonomy Sutra School. He wrote many texts, such as this Heart of the Middle Way, also called the Blaze of Reasoning, and then many other texts as well. I think he also the commentary on the Treatise on the Middle Way as well. So he wrote many other texts, and so we have his quote here. Since bodhisattvas see the faults of cyclic existence, they do not remain there. So they see the various sufferings of cyclic existence and wish to emerge. Because they care for others, they do not remain in nirvana. So they have a non-abiding nirvana. Because of their compassion for others, they do not remain in a state of abiding nirvana. In order to fulfill the needs of others, they resolve to remain in cyclic existence. So the bodhisattva, in order to fulfill all sentient beings' needs, remains in cyclic existence where sentient beings are for the sake of them. So that's what is meant by this section. Khensur Rinpoche.
ane truvat tenda to ten jaji be ten reje te jagu truva jusen ti gune hiji chisu da koala mujo ajin kewares hiji chembo da koala mujo kewares He came here and called Joa Guru and knew somebody Gurus. Then he gave us what the Denmark Jen said in the Metandusa.
He can't be very Rinpoche.
On
the
woman, he belonged to Shesun Laws, the Nabatandro. That robot and the Jen, Sijan Tadala, Siju Chamber Jibi, Jur Shansan and Shibatar. Jada Juni, also the Juni to was Shansa Jilun, Chitaku, Dale, Taramason.
Okay.
Jada Juni from Yusarawa, Jajuni, Tabu, Dungamu, Dungamu Kashine, Susan Tabaina, and then you somebody Jachota, things about young Wajota. Tetabi Dunga Taiba, Tone, Tula Mazuba, Shutala Junrewa, Chiguba dance, Najun Sambate, Junrewa, Shutabaji Jul Chigures, Gubatan, Koala Junze Jan Maju Shibane, Koala Junze Jan Maju Shibane, Chingawa Yinosa, the Kajit Koala Junze Jan Chugumar said what didn't give her interest.
Then the Ngapa Drupa. So number 6, once you see the limitless sufferings of all living beings, such as the 110 sufferings explained in the Bodhisattva levels, so Asanga's Bodhisattva levels, you allow this to be the cause for great compassion. At this time, when you cultivate a heart that has a forceful and enduring inability to withstand the sight of others' sufferings, it would be contradictory to be not even slightly disenchanted with cyclic existence. So if you have this inability to even bear the sight of someone else suffering, they're suffering because of being bound to cyclic existence. If you feel that strongly about others' need for emergence, then obviously you yourself have a disenchantment with that cyclic existence that you see the need for others to be freed from. So that's the point that's being made here. It says it's contradictory to be not even slightly disenchanted with cyclic existence. So here, this is just the number 6, that's stating that that the Bodhisattva is enduring this because of the great compassion that he or she has, and enduring what? And then it mentions the Bodhisattva levels, where it talks of those 110 different sufferings. And then Rinpoche said we didn't get that text, but there's a text that has, in the Bodhisattva levels, we have this list of 110.
That Dumba del Geshe Lharampa, Dumba Koala, Injun Cheans, Sheta Motonwa, Shoba Chebane, Shoba Chebaza. And the Shanchu Samba Koala and Nanjun Samba Chebashida Yuares, Nanjun Samba Chebayoba Yinaya, and the Shital Humares, Shitale, Shibisilla Maneshi, Hinji Shimbu Yotan. She tal mares, she tal Timebas, she tal moyade, Hinji Shimba Meza, she tal deres, Shanju Samba, she tal mare, Niebo, and then Hinji Shimba Yozan, she tal mare, she tal Molonwa, and Geshe Shuba, Jimba Tsujin Soba, Jundu Sante, what to Sule, Gabushitares, Jebanes, what the Telmaten was that. Koala, ye lebaran junga shites, Koala, ye leban junga shit, Shanju Samba Sue, Koala, Nanjung Samba, ye leban junga shite, Tene Sejena, Ranginian to Tone, Sejena Ranginian Tones, Sejena, ne Kazure, and the Rank Mayis Lagomarbe, Sejen Galo, one does Galo Tene. Joe Hamadu with Tati, I began the man out to Sukalo, Rangania said that Ja Kabdo. Jungo Obi Lota, Rangila Tumechi, Nande, Luniba Le, Joe Hamadu with Ta, Lotan, Ombutan, Unjungo, Tasmula Tene, Rangi Jola Toma Meba, Sinjan Tajiki, Jola Toma Meba Inza. And the Rang Mam Ajabachi, you mare, Rang near my Bachi, you mare, Drama Bachi, you mare, near my Bachi, you mares, what in Santa Marbe? Koala ye, Lebaran Jung Ashete, Tene, Sejena Rang near the Tunes, Jola Toma Meba is a Rang Malasubi, near the Tune, Tadaki turned to Sejen Taji turned to. Sisun Jubi, larger Jimbanes, and Sijatajik Tonto, Koal and Jubi, and the larger Chibichum, larger Jibanding, larger Jimba, Chibichibi, larger Jabatuza, and Jirba, larger Jibane, Shaju Sembi, Neju Shuba, Jijabi, Yang, gomba yin jijabe gomba res da gomba yin sobe chima da tabe jang ti jeba sewan de sa ane sobe chima da tabe wo jijabe jeba jwa jijabe jwa wo de sebu son do hos de cheke do ku nye mi jebe yitrajin zhuan doba nang tiba chenpo la ngabra xiawa xiayu do dosa kawal traji zhuan doba nang tiba chenpo la tiya dala xiawa xiayu do zhungden di je gulung ta yuan rinpo kowa changpa na la, yuan rinpo kowa changpa na la, gang la pang, ma, pang, pamo, nye dong, na ki, nye zang kanyang rong yu, ne zang zhawa, ma ma wa ne, shen jen ji ri na, shen jen ga yang, yue pa ma yin no xie song la sa, shang chu sen bei jang, shang chu sen pa na jang, zhu den di song ri pa xe ne, kowa ju pa thoma me pa ne, pa tang ma la su bi, za la tu chu bi, ne ruwa, jia xin gu me pa, tada, teba chen bi chu ji, zin ji dewa, sha yi shir, chungwa zoba yin te, she song bi shiros, wa teba ti yin bari tata ne, te chabu duwa tani ma, ka le ji ne, ngul ma chiri ja tu sarba. Dunba,
Okay.
kuwa la yi ngaba nyunga she te, tene si jen na, rangi nye tungnes, wa te, kuwa la yi ngaba nyunga si jen na rangi nye tungsa tu wa te, jiwa ngama zhubi ta te, si jen tangji la xa ma xe na, si jen tangji nye yinpa tong tu zo ma rwa, wa te gen gu du wa te.
Okay. So, number 7, if you have, so number 7, the theme of Aryadeva's 400 stanzas is the stage of the path upon which bodhisattvas develop great revulsion for cyclic existence, and then seeing living beings as their close relatives enter the ocean of cyclic existence for their sake. In his commentary on that work, the master Chandrakirti clarified this. So now there'll be a quote from Chandrakirti's commentary on Aryadeva's 400 verses, and it's without first establishing previous lives. Then it becomes very difficult to believe what is being presented here, seeing living beings as their close relatives. So in order to establish the existence of previous lives, we look at the 2nd chapter of Dharmakirti's commentary on the Compendium of Valid Cognition, where it speaks of the breath and speaks of the mind, the consciousness or mind, and speaks of the sense powers, and saying that these come from concordant causes, not from a discordant class. Which means that we have beginningless consciousness, beginningless sense power, beginningless breathing in and out. And by examining this, then we can establish that we have beginningless lives, and then we can establish then that all sentient beings have had beginningless lives. And then once we establish that, then we can establish that all sentient beings have been our mothers, all sentient beings have been our fathers, all sentient beings have been our brothers, all sentient beings have been our friends, all sentient beings have been neutral to us, all sentient beings have been our enemies. But it would be very difficult to establish any of that without relying on those correct signs that prove the existence of previous lives. So that's what becomes important within this section, to understand that it's necessary to develop this understanding in order to make this concrete idea that living beings are like our close relatives, and seeing living beings in that manner. It says, this is now a quote from Chandrakirti's commentary on Aryadeva's 400 verses, and it says, due to the Buddha's explanation of the faults of cyclic existence, his disciples learned to fear it and desire freedom from it. The Bhagavan said the following, so they would keep develop a strong connection to the Mahayana. O monks, among all of you who have passed through cyclic existence for a long time, there is not one being among all the various types of living being who has not been like a father, mother, son, daughter, relative, or step relation to you. So here in this quote, it's showing those relationships that we've had with all sentient beings, and it's from Chenrezig's commentary. And then it says, and further, by understanding the words of the Bhagavan, bodhisattvas are able to leap into the ocean of cyclic existence. They do this so that all beings who have been their close relatives, like father and mother, throughout beginningless time, and who are now bereft and without a protector, may be freed by the boat of the Mahayana. And so one wishes to free all sentient beings from the state of suffering that they are in because of holding them dear, because they've all had these relations to us and have these connections with us. So in the Bodhisattva's practice of these 6 perfections, he or she is doing the perfection of generosity, ethics, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom for the sake of others who have been have had all of these relationships with the Bodhisattva in previous lives. So seeing the suffering that they're enduring makes the practitioner wish to free them from it, because the Buddha has always taught to be wish to fear and wish to be free from cyclic existence, and the Bodhisattva focuses that kind of thought on others and wishes to free them as well. Okay, Khensur Rinpoche.
What did one book.
So Aryadeva's commentary, Chenrezig's commentary on Aryadeva's 400 verses is, Rinpoche said before, very clearly written, and it's one text in Tibetan. Very clear. Very similar to written like a Tibetan commentary. This is a translator's note. Sometimes they say the Indian commentaries are written in a very difficult way. It's almost encoded, whereas this specific commentary is always referred to as like a Tibetan commentary because it's written in a very clear fashion that isn't as encoded and difficult to understand. That's a note. Thank you. And so when I was in Varanasi in Sanskrit University, I looked at this text on Aryadeva's 400 verses commentary by Chenrezig, and I found it to be so clear, able and very easy to understand. Yeah, maybe it's the translator who made it so easy to read, perhaps. But it's very clear. Now we get to number 8.
Sangha teaching to the Google calling a bunch of the patient TV teaching Guba Maze, Sangha Duji TV, and teaching later to Google is.
So when we look at the Mahayana tradition, we can divide it into 2 categories, the perfection vehicle and then the secret vehicle, or sometimes the resultant vehicle, but Rinpoche is saying the secret vehicle. So we find that not only is this renunciation or the desire to definitely emerge indispensable in the lower Mahayana tradition of the perfection vehicle, but also in the secret vehicle or the mantric vehicle, renunciation becomes indispensable. Becomes necessary. So that's the number 8.
ngaju samba to the sanga lana mabala gugres gubi jusen kalsana sheba dubi jamale shodu jamo nga injirwa shodu jamale jemba de shinto juba mabe shobala juba shaos jeba de shinto juba mabe shobala juba shaos ngaju sambe sembe gone so injirwa da tene jeba de yetes ane tene shinto juba mabe shobala jubi ane ribanderes de yete tala tambu kuna juba be ko tuma meba jenje ko tuma meba jenje dungen temba shela nyanga lente bi doan debe ne doze tanji yonso bon shashins doze tanji yonso bon shashins ana wate tanda me be sheba ka bon gores bon shashin tada Geshe ji onjo la ya ne dunge ji de shi gomba shawos wate Geshe sheba ne joje du jabu pain se umar ba anu calling about jo what to is rota what you go so de sar what about jibarita.
Okay, number 8, the unsurpassed mantra vehicle also requires this method, for as Aryadeva says in his lamp, which is a compendium of deeds, through these stages you should engage in these activities wholly, free of elaborations. The stages for doing this are as follows. In the very beginning you should recall the beginningless sufferings of cyclic existence, and then desire the bliss of nirvana. Therefore you should completely give up all agitation and even cultivate the idea that the rulers of kingdoms suffer. So you should develop this renunciation and understand that if it's cyclic existence, it's pervaded by suffering. So do.
Wajita samba jango to samba de jivisi tela lutu sewa sarwa.
Lessa.
Lutu sewa sabukuri ta. Ta jiba taba dribi lanji tena papa.
Lessa.
What the hero.
Lessa. So we've completed then the section on dispelling. We've completed the first 3 sections. The first section, the mental training. The second section, the measure of the determination to be free. The third section, dispelling misconceptions. And now we arrive at the section on ascertaining the nature of the path leading to liberation.
Ta shabat taba dribi lanji tena papa tela wate janji be saji jeti kundushi.
Lessa.
Taba dribi lanji tena papa tela wate janji be saji jig dan tambu tere jona mara
Lessa.
tambu os shinjana tamati said keba jinjirwa shinjana tamati dunga jasu tin tames dunga jasu de wote ku dunga jasu de tatan tin me bares ne jacho the tin soba sibi lonto shinjur chance sibi lonto ku tulu dans le tomba yinaya jime go gus ne kwale ku sita lomba yinaya kwale jewa lemba yinaya ne kwale ne juwa meba jume jiba meba go gus gabo ne chanchu semba gabo yo da daja nila chi ji pondang zega song dang la zhe dang naga guba yi da dong ba yu me shu jang ne delong nyue ba la ba nyang she dang sa ju jiden me jilong ngosong da do nge tong yang 다동 중세 메셈바 최니 도제 주당제스 셰송바다르스 랑라 랑기 규신 랑라 랑기 규신 규님이 공배 jeune dunji toba jobales jeune dunji toba jobale what to tan khatu de change da modoa jeune dunji toba jobale jiden ne ba chuna son yu dai zone yo tongsa jiden ne ba chu na dai zone da ba mata ba ten marba ro yu chu na da wa taras 네 다유존이 요아통 데바 트비 드지 르지 댕기 저마타보통스 데바 트비 여사종의 트비 드지 르지 댕기 저마타보통 코알지사도 제가 나지 동에만 보여로 드지 트비 제가 나지 동에만 보여 통거래스 통 로아다다 동에 미 로던바 통유나스 로안다 동에 지만 봐요. 만바 통유나 제부 다장에 반종라 너가 도트 다도 치스 너가 도트 다도 근데 자부 질에서 자부 다장에 반종라 너가 도트 다도 도트 레바나 버스 도트 소문제 셰송바타르 현주지 고알롱기 죄바 현주지 고알롱기 죄비 춘다타르 계지장 마드바 집에 마다바탄스 다마데게 전다도 수땡을 송대사레 데비에데네 너가 총라 년총아 데비에데 네 지 가서래 조르 레잘아서 차베 대화요로 대화 네테 너초라 네초와 주두비 르지 티바다 라와사 네코알 차베 대화되게 와테 도주기 zulti 라버레스 로앙아보나 동에 손지 머라도 로앙아보 네 손손 라마이 사는 저바이는 아이지레 라마이 카던 조이지로 로앙아부터 내지 만바이 그도 동아 통네 시발라 셴바티네 로바 시비 로나 타부시 제나 시비 로나 타부시 제나 네반종 타발라 노바가와 도통종스 나는 선바전 타발 가비용레스 샴비 셰바네 샤이 셰바네 샤나 잠바금베 샴비 셰바네 샤나 잠바금베 뇨마녜체 사유 셰바시 제데 잠바사완되네 말라 셀함바나 말라 잠바 매베 네 뇨시시 젬베 테먼데스 네 뇨마서 가서데 라부나 나무죠로 친상지로데 잠바메네 아마게 보고래 노데 제고 상가부터 보고 잠바선도고 친상 잠바메지로 젬베 안데 보고 땡 알모고스 먼데스 테네 뇨마 캄부시 젬베스 tena shintu te kambu chi jimbe tena mendo seres tena nyoma posha shi shimba la ya mendo seres tena nyoma chukin shi shimbe tena nga mendo seres ne kumangu ne te yoma mayin salo sa te shinto 어떤 것들 마모도다
마모이래 니네 사보도 칼칼이야
칼레갈 질루다네 제가 타버들 하지는 어디 담비 공래 사지 지금 나네
딕서
담비 공다다 두 마송 어디로 때는데 받지 자다
딕서
야
they're tearing out to the NGK load and 딕서 Okay, so we're just going to read through this section. Ascertaining the nature of the path leading to liberation. Exhort yourself and meditate on the faults of cyclic existence, as Sri Jagan Mitrananda says. Okay, so there's 4 sections, according to Jayan Sheba, in this particular section. So in number 4, ascertaining the nature of the path leading to liberation, there are 4 sections. So although we have sunk in the midst of cyclic existence, an ocean of suffering with neither bottom nor shore, we are not disenchanted, we have no fear, we are pleased and excited. What is going on in our minds? Although we have entered a fire constantly blazing with problems, poverty, hardship in acquiring food and shelter, effort in keeping, and finally loss, as well as separation, illness, and aging, we boast of happiness. This seems insane. Alas, the worldly have eyes, yet are blind. Although you see the obvious, you do not think about it at all. Has your mind become hardened? Consequently, as Guyadatta's edifying tale of the 7 maidens, the Sapta Kumarika Vadana, states, we see the things of the world as wavering images of the moon and water. We see attachments as the shadows of the hood and coils of angry snake. We see these beings to be ablaze with the flames of suffering. We therefore go to cremation grounds, O king, delighting in the determination to be free. So it's saying that they see the things of the world as transient, as impermanent, and attachments as a negative thing. It says, as the shadows of the hoods and coils of angry snakes. And then it says, we see sentient beings burning in the flames of suffering. They therefore go to the cemetery and wish to be free, basically is what it says. Go to a cemetery and recognizing all of this desire, renunciation. Thus, when you see that cyclic existence, environments and beings is like a moon and water that is stirred by the wind, impermanent, disintegrating, not resting for even an instant, that sensory objects, like shadows of the bodies of poisonous snake, hold little value but great danger, and that the 5 types of beings are scorched by the blazing fires of the 3 types of suffering, then you give rise to a disposition like that of a northern child, a disposition that has completely turned away from cyclic existence. When this happens, there occurs the determination to be free, a longing that delights in liberation. The expression northern children is to be understood as follows. In the north, roasted barley flour, tsampa, is very scarce, and consequently the inhabitants eat small amounts of turnips. Once there were some children there who, being hungry and wishing to eat roasted barley flour, asked their mother for food. Since she had no roasted barley flour, she offered them fresh turnip, which they refused. She offered them dried turnip, but they did not want that either. So she gave them cooked turnip, but they turned this down, and finally she offered them frozen cooked turnip, whereupon she turned away with a great feeling of nausea, exclaiming, everything is turnips. Likewise, with respect to whatever worldly happiness is seen, heard of, or remembered, you must, as the Kadampa teachers have said, generate the same thinking. This is the world. This is also is the world. Everything is suffering. I want nothing to do with it. Decent.
and call what the never quad is on words, what the thing those are tetar Hatuma Mebane, Koa Chamba, Sambe, Jushins. He Tamal Tayuma, you must have the things of Marvel. Poji, you want Chite, you Mugus, Takante, Ku, the Karinaya, Deba Meba, Nanu Samba, Pogu to Yuma, and never Joanaji, and then Gadu Samba, Exam things.
So like this child who's been offered these turnips because they had no barley flour in all these different ways, everything is a turnip. Likewise, everything in cyclic existence is suffering. So there isn't any discrimination between this is and this isn't. Everything that is cyclic existence is necessarily suffering. Just as in this example, everything was turnips. No matter how they were prepared or what form they were in, they were all the same thing. So number 2, then, in this way, by contemplating your previously beginning wanderers through cyclic existence, you become disenchanted and revolted. And by contemplating the necessity of continuing to wander here indefinitely, you give rise to fear and anxiety. So then this determination to be free arises, or renunciation. That's the point that's being made here. Rinpoche stopped where I did and just said, this is speaking of renunciation.
Tanda ngazu dajuma matuj batu tanda kwal kugres tanda tadun changu ba sambes tadun yana kwal jana jawalengo ba sambe nen jishin trabi lu chizanto masonwa jeba des jishin trabi wote yaja kwal chegosan sal tamba ina shinayong tragres Traba de Cizan de Maswa, Nungune Shina Laba Chebate, Ta Shedin London, Shedin Quatanda Labi Hamadan, Quatanda Labi Hamadan, Nuayeda Tundu, Netato, Jawa Zombo Mala, Jawa Ne, Number to me, Tunjuro, La Chenrezig. What the Nason Las Jesona and the Dungan Tomayung Wores, Dungan Tomayung with Chenrezig, Sheson Batar, Nebala, Nebatanji, Tawane, Jawan Dugusos, Nebatanji, Tawane, Toma Mariba the Kago, this one is what about to Nibare.
Okay, so number 2, in this way, by contemplating your previous beginningless wanderings through cyclic existence, you become disenchanted and revolted. By contemplating the necessity of continuing to wander here indefinitely, you give rise to fear and anxiety with a determination that transcends mere words. You must, as Nagarjuna's friendly letter says, stop your birth in cyclic existence, the root of all harm. Cyclic existence is like that, birth. Whether in the lands of deities or humans, hell beings, hungry ghosts, or animals, it's not auspicious. Understand that birth is a vessel of much harm. Nipa. Nipa, the Sheiting Lung Tsar, Nipa Tsar.
Nipa Tsar, that Tanma Sombaro, Soma Sheiting Lung, Tanma, Double Grusos, what about Sombare? Niparo. Ta Somba Tanma Tere, Somba Tasagadu, Somba Linjaji Betasagadu, Koa Zubi Machubas, Koala Kuidungan, and Zuba Machuba. Ne kui yo le de nyomo bat ka gures what somba de matel he no serta te an jo le dan nyomo ba ni do bala tu las kui de ne ma de na kui de ne jo le de nyomo bat ka do bala tu las te ni do sona na kui de ne nyomo ma res te ni ja nyomo me na le ja yo chance Teni nyomu tures, nyomu mena le kazi yoba inaya quality to mares. Sibi sile nagi lejen peni mayinte lanji shiba seji ros nane go to simbare. Le dan jo nyomu ba ni le dubala tula teni jan nyomu ba tu nyomu mena le jazan yo jan quality mares. Me jo mojulas nyomu yo na Le ngasa med chu chang che du su ba ju nyomu jong ba jaos nyomu de bon gures what is somebody.
So number 3 deals with the need to get rid of the causes of cyclic existence, which are karma and the afflictions. Because if there are no which are the karma and the afflictions. Because if there are no afflictions, even if there is karma present, then the cooperating condition isn't present, so cyclic existence cannot be experienced. So what is more, you must eliminate both causes of birth and cyclic existence, karma and afflictions. Still, between these two, if you have no afflictions, you will not take birth, no matter how much karma you have. Hence, you should destroy the afflictions by cultivating a path that is complete and without error. Because once you have, because once you have afflictions, even if it were possible to eradicate previously accumulated karma, you would immediately accumulate new karma, and then that's it. So 3.
Ta jiba to what is jiba, and then chimba to what the chimba jiba to jiba chimba chu dan ranshu ji ge yeme chimba to chu dan ranshu ji ge duares ge nyaba yungures what that tenma ten do ta jiba tenjomba yang lama noa Manojin, Sang Kumbala Rale Sos, or the Kabalaya, Nalama no, not Sang Kumbala Rale Gres. What about the Jiba?
Kabagutsu?
Oh, yeah.
Kabagare?
Jiba. Tama Dre. Tenjumba Yang.
Did Jumba?
Lama no Shin, Sang Kumbala Rale Sos.
Did Jombayan Lama no?
Tenjumba Lama Noa.
Shuma Gomba Le So. Nyomo Yina.
Oh, Tibat Rosilla, and not Jamala Shumara.
I'm just trying to find where 4 starts. Delani. And these are 2. So it's right before that. Hence you should have Nyomo Manor Shin Sanwa Gompala Rale So.
What about it? About the Janmara?
Rinpoche just said discarded. This has 2 parts. It must be. I don't see it. Maybe it's the hence you should just. Nyomo Nina Same Ducha. Yeah, because you have no possibility. I'll have to get back to it. Then the Jipa Kabar Gutsogudu, the Kona, did Jomba Yang La Lam.
What about the tema to your mother? What did you lose?
I will have to go over in the future. I just don't see it. It's only a very short line here. It looks like it's missing, or there's no mission, or I'm just missing it. So next time. So we'll do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Strange. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Mantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Teshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, holder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts, exceptional wisdom and perseverance, Suji Rinpoche